Hello, how are y'all doing? Good, man. I tell you what, y'all sounded good compared to that first service. I had to ask them twice because they weren't quite ready to say we're good, so we had to do it twice, but y'all passed on the first one. We were so excited. Thank y'all so much for being here. We are starting a series today called Road Trip. Now, when I say the word road trip, okay, I'm a visual person. So when I say the word road trip, something comes to mind. So whenever I say the word road trip to you, what do you think about? What comes to mind? Is it a word? Is it a picture? Is it a trip or something like that? Here, whenever I was growing up, whenever you say road trip, this is what I think about right here. That's me and my sister, okay? We had a station wagon. And if you don't know what that station wagon is, let me tell you, that was the machine, okay? It was awesome because the back would lay down. You had like a playpen, all right? And then you could fold it up and you could sit in a seat and you could look at the people pulling up behind you and stare at them. You don't get to do that no more. It's not, you have to have seatbelts and stuff. Something about safety, I don't know, okay? But that was, we would take that to Ada, Oklahoma and go to a family reunion every summer, man. It was great. But probably the best road trip I went on as a kid, before I was in double digits, we went to California, all right? And we took my grandpa's truck that had a camper on the top. You know, the kind of like a shell. It's just not a fifth wheel. There wasn't such things then, RV or not. It was a truck with a camper on the top that came over the top of the hood. You could lay down on the top of that mattress thing right there. And we took that all the way to California. It took a week to get there. Then we hung out in California for a week with my aunt and uncle, and then we drove back, and we camped down at KOAs, which I finally found out that stands for Campgrounds of America. They spell it with a K, but it's Campgrounds of America. We would camp in KOAs. We put tents up. We'd eat cheese sandwiches. We'd stop at grocery stores and eat cheese sandwiches. That was the good old days, man. That was some fun stuff. But we would stop. We would look at the Grand. We went and looked at the Grand Canyon, Carlsbad Caverns, Petrified Forest, Rocky Mountains. It was just one of those trips that you don't get to do a whole lot of, and it was great. And as a young kid, I probably was 8 years old, 9 years old, I don't know. I was enough to be a pain. I can know that. But I love to collect rocks. So everywhere we went, I would pick up rocks and I'd just put them in my pocket. I'd Petrified Forest, I'd find something, I'd put it in my pocket. We were in the Rocky Mountains and we're doing a trip. We're doing a hike with my dad and my brother and me. And my dad wanted to see snow. Wanted us to see snow. So we got off the beaten path, and a 45-minute hike took us about 2.5 hours, okay? But we were walking around trying to find snow, and everywhere I was looking, it was like, this is cool stuff. There was rocks everywhere, little bitty piles of rocks, and all the rocks looked the same. And I was picking them up, and I was saying, Dad, look at these rocks, and I was putting them in my pocket. And my dad says, Rocky, that's deer poop. So I start taking those rocks out of my pocket, okay? But here's the deal. I still had fun. I had a blast. But you know what? After 3 weeks, our family loved each other. We still love each other, but 3 weeks got kind of to the point where we didn't like each other anymore. It was kind of that point. We were kind of ready to call it a day. All right. Especially my sister and my brother. They were teenagers at the time. They were ready to get back and see their friends, and they were definitely ready to get rid of me. But you know what? We all have road trips that we've been on. And some of those road trips are road trips that we look excited about, and some we dread. Some we get on with we wish they would never end. Some we get on with wish they never started. It's just kind of, we all have these road trips in mind that we want to do, but not all road trips go cross country. I think some of our road trips are just life in general. It's just life. We're all on a road trip. And I know for me, 52 years ago, my road trip of life started. 40 years ago, my road trip with Jesus started. I gave my life to Jesus when I was 12 years old, and my road trip with him began. And 30 years ago, 2 months, 22 days ago, I started my journey with my wife. We've been married for that long. And I'm telling you this, for me, it's flown by. If you want to talk to her, she'd probably say something different. But for me, it's been amazing. 25 years ago, we started a family. I added a daughter, 22 years, had 25 and 22 years old. And coming this December, I've had a son-in-law for 1 year. So I've been on this road trip with him. 16 years ago, I started a road trip with GF.Church. We've all been on road trips. We're all on road trips all the time. And your road trip could be your marriage, it could be your family, it could be your job, it could be your career. But as we look at all these things, we've had road trips that we've had. And there's several things, when I think about road trips, there's several things that come to mind that we need to know. Road trips happen, okay? You don't have an option here, all right? Road trips are gonna happen. You can choose to go on some, you're gonna go on some when you don't want to, okay? You're stuck, you're on a road trip, all right? The next thing is this, road trips happen at the same time. When you take a road trip, you have a bunch of different road trips involved in it. But as in life, as I'm on the road trip of life, I'm on a road trip of marriage, I'm on a road trip of ministry, I'm on a road trip of parenting. We do all these road trips at the same time. And the last one is this, road trips happen with others. Road trips happen with others. In some of those others, we don't have a choice, do we? We're just stuck. My brother and sister would say, we were stuck with a little kid that talked too much and never took naps. We're stuck with those things. So today, as you think about this, as we think about a road trip, we're taking a road trip with others. Say you're going to load up this afternoon. Who are you taking on your road trip with you? Who are you going to take on your road trip with you? Sometimes we have a choice, sometimes we don't. But say that you had a choice today. Who are you taking on the road trip with you? Who are you going to take with you? Now, I'm a visual person. I told you I'm a visual person. So in my mind, I'm thinking about 3 or 4 people that I say, I'm going to go on a road trip. I'm taking these people. Okay? You got those people you got them in your head right now? Who you'd go on a road trip with? Is the person sitting next to you one of them? Don't say nothing. I don't want to be doing marriage counseling next week, okay? But we get the choice to choose who we want on that road trip with us. So who's on that list? You are going to take a trip. You are taking a trip right now. The question is, who's on that road trip with you? Look at this statement with me. Who you choose to take on your trip will choose where your trip takes you. Can I read that again? Let that sink in for just a second. Who you choose to take on your trip will choose where your trip takes you. We have an option. The trips that we take the people that we put on our trip with us are gonna determine where we go ultimately. And we're gonna look at the life of Rehoboam today in 1 Kings 12. And we're just gonna look at that for just a few minutes. And we're gonna look at some choices that he made as he began his road trip. And some of those choices that he made a huge impact on his forever. Okay? So before we do that, before we look at 1 Kings 12, let me pray. God, thank you so much for your word. Thank you for today. I ask that you just speak to us and challenge us. It's in your son's precious name I pray. Amen. Okay, we're going to look at 1 Kings 12. We're going to start in verse 1. And I'm going to kind of, as we read it, I'm going to talk about a little bit of it, okay? So here we go. 1 Kings 12, chapter 12, verse 1. Rehoboam went to Shechem, where all Israel had gathered to make him king. Okay, so let me kind of just give you a little history real quick, okay? Rehoboam is King Solomon's son, King David's grandson. So if you know anything, David and Goliath, David fought Goliath, became a king of Israel. His grandson is Rehoboam, and Rehoboam was about to become king because King Solomon had passed away. All right? Okay, next. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard of this, he returned from Egypt, for he had fled to Egypt to escape from King Solomon. The leaders of Israel summoned him, and Jeroboam and the whole assembly of Israel went to speak with Rehoboam. Okay, so here's the deal. They're about to make Rehoboam king, and all of Israel comes to celebrate. But at the same time, the officials and the people invited Jeroboam back because he had gotten crossways with King Solomon, and he had fled to Egypt. They invite him back, and they want to talk to King Rehoboam before he's king. They want to talk to him, and they want to ask him some questions. Okay, so then next, your father, this is what they're saying. Your father was a hard master, they said. Lighten the harsh labor demands and heavy taxes that your father imposed on us. Then we will be your loyal subjects. Rehoboam replied, give me 3 days to think this over. Then come back for my answer. So the people went away. Okay, so let me kind of tell you what's going on here. They're about to make Rehoboam king, and the people of Israel come and they bring Jeroboam back, and Jeroboam is asking them, saying, "Hey, Rehoboam, can you do us a favor? okay? Your dad, yes, he was a wise king, but man, he was hard. He was hard. He taxed us hard. He worked us hard. And can you lighten the load just a little bit for us? Can you lighten that load a little bit? And I love what Rehoboam did. Rehoboam did a very smart thing right here. He says, go away for 3 days and let me think about it. Sometimes that's some really smart stuff right there. With some decisions we need to make, we need to take some time, don't we? We need to take some time. And he was very wise on this. He said, okay, let me give me 3 days and then come back for my answer. And we pick up. Then King Rehoboam discussed the matter with the older men who had counseled his father Solomon. What is your advice, he asked. How should I answer these people? Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, Rehoboam is king, and he asked his dad's advisors, King Solomon's advisors, what do you say that we need to do? So he asked them, all right, and this is their answer. The older counselors replied, if you are willing to be a servant to these people today and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your loyal subjects. So the advisors, the older advisors that were King Solomon's advisors said, hey, Rehoboam, if you do this, if you listen to them and you lighten the load a little bit and you choose to be a servant leader, these people will follow you. They will love you and they will follow you. And this is what Rehoboam does. But Rehoboam rejected the advice of the older men and instead asked the opinion of the younger men who had grown up with him and were now his advisors. What is your advice? He asked them. How should I answer these people who want to lighten the burdens imposed by my father? Okay, you see that? Rehoboam had a choice. He asked the advice of the older advisors, and then the buddies that he grew up with, the ones that he hung out with his whole life, then they were his advisors, supposedly, and he asked them what they would do. All right? He rejected what the older advisors were said to do, and they accepted. He started listening to the younger advisors. Then we pick up. The young men replied, this is what you should tell those complainers. You get that? This is what you should tell those complainers. Yeah, it sounds really mature, doesn't it? Who want to lighten their burden. My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. Okay? Yes, my father laid heavy burdens on you, but I'm going to make them even heavier. My father beat you with whips, but I will beat you with scorpions. 3 days later, Jeroboam and all the people returned to hear Rehoboam's decision, just as the king had ordered. But Rehoboam spoke harshly to the people, for he rejected the advice of the older counselors and followed the counsel of his younger advisors. He told the people, my father laid heavy burdens on you, but I'm going to make them even heavier. My father beat you with whips, but I will beat you with scorpions. Okay, so here's the deal. This is what's going on right now with Rehoboam. Rehoboam is about to go on a road trip. He is about to go on a road trip of being the king of Israel. And what he is doing is he is choosing who he's taking with him on that road trip. He had the option. I've got my buddies that I grew up with, but I still have a choice here. I can listen to the older advisors, or I can listen to the younger advisors. So they had a choice to make. He had a choice that he could make right here at this point. Just like the choices that we made. And here's the thing about this choice. This choice that Rehoboam made right here impacted his future as well as the future of the Jewish people. This one choice that he made right here, it impacted everything. It impacted everything. So we go back to this statement. Who you choose to take on your trip will choose where your trip takes you. Rehoboam chose to bring his buddies, to listen to his buddies, and to take this trip. And this trip determined where he was going to go. And if you know the story at all, at this point, the Israelite people, the kingdom was divided. The majority of the tribes began to follow Jeroboam, and 2 of the tribes followed Rehoboam. Because his choice at this point, he listened to the wrong advisors. He invited the wrong people on the trip with him, and it divided the kingdom. it separated the kingdom. So as we get ready to move on, I want you to think about this for just a second. I love to ask myself questions. Okay? And this is the question I want you to ask yourself. I want you to think about this. Where is it that you want to end up? Where do you want to be? Where's your destination? Where's your stopping point? Where do you want to end up? I love when I look at Paul. Paul was, many of you, if you've been here before, you know he persecuted the church. He hated Christians. He hated Jesus. He hated the whole Christianity. He wanted to wipe it off the face of the earth. And in the process of persecuting the Christians, he became one. He had an encounter with Jesus Christ, and he became a follower of Jesus. And he began to be one of the key leaders in the New Testament. And he wrote a lot of the New Testament. And he wrote a book to Timothy, which was a young pastor. He was kind of mentoring him. And he wrote this in 2 Timothy 4:7. He says this, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have remained faithful. Okay? Paul had lived his life, and he was looking back. He was telling Timothy, you know what? Man, I've done exactly what God called me to do. I am good. I am where I need to be. I have done what God has asked me to do. And he was content. He was good with where he was. And for me, I love that. It's a life verse for me because I love to think about, okay, that's what I want to be able to say at the end of my life. That I have fought the good fight. That I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. That where my here is was worth it. And so the question I have for you this morning is your here worth it? Where you're going, is it worth it? Are you going to be able to look back and say, you know what, I was right spot on. I was right where God wanted me to be. The second thing is this, who are the companions on your road trip with you? Who are the people that are on your road trip with you? Who are you taking with you on this road trip? Rehoboam had a choice. He had a choice. Do I choose the older advisors or do I listen to the younger advisors? And his choice impacted his destination. Our choices, the companions we bring on our trip with us, impact our destination. Now, there's a passage, before we dive into some other things, there's a passage in Proverbs that King Solomon wrote. And he's writing it, okay? And part of it is written specifically to his kids. And look what it says in Proverbs 8. And so my children, okay? Solomon's writing this to Rehoboam. And so my children, listen to me, for all who follow my ways are joyful. Listen to my instruction and be wise. And look at this next part. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Joyful are those who listen to me, watching for me daily at my gates, waiting for me outside my home. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. Okay, here's the deal. This is plain and simple. We can know where our here is. You can know where you need to go. You can know that you need to take some companions with you that are going to help you get there. But you also have the right to ignore it. And if you're not going to put into practice to get there, then we can't complain at the end when we're not where we want to be. If we don't make the choices now to be where we need to be, it's not just going to happen. You don't just happen to end up where you want to be. So what I want us to do today is I want us to look at several things that I feel like would help us out, understanding who we need to put on the trip with us. Now, as we do this, I want you to think about where's your here? What are you wanting to do? Are you wanting to be a better husband? Are you wanting to be a better wife? Are you wanting to be a better parent, a better mom or a better dad or a better son or a better daughter? Are you wanting to be a better boss? Are you wanting to be a better employee? Are you wanting to make better decisions? Are you wanting to be a better Christ follower? Because where you want to go is going to determine the choices that you make to get there. And the first thing is this. We need to invite people that have been there. We need to invite people that have been there, All right? We need to invite people that are on the trip. Rehoboam had a choice. He asked advice from both of them, didn't he? He asked the older advisors and he asked the younger advisors. The older advisors had been there. They knew how Solomon had treated the people of Israel. They knew how things worked. They knew that if he would just lighten the load, that they would follow him. The young advisors didn't have a clue. They grew up spoiled, just like Rehoboam. They didn't know how the world worked. They didn't know all they knew is they wanted power. We need to invite people that have been there, that have done that. I want to listen to those people. Have you ever been to like a grocery store or hardware store or something, and you kind of don't know you don't know where it is, what you're looking for? You know, especially when they do a remodel. You know, they do a remodel and you walk in and you're like, I knew where it used to be, but I don't know now. And I'm not one of those kind of dudes that's going to walk around for 2 hours. Okay, I'm going to ask somebody. And I'm going to go up to somebody and I'm going to say, hey, where did I find this? And they'll say on aisle 26. And I'll go to aisle 26. And I'll look and I'll I probably still can't find it. But anyway, but what I really like is this, okay? I like when that person, I say, hey, do you know where this stuff is? And they say, it's on aisle 20. Oh, never mind. I was just there. Follow me. Come with me. You see, it's right here. It's right here. You see, it's right here. Thank you. That's the kind of people I want. Because I'll get lost between where I'm at and aisle 26. And I want somebody to walk with me and show me because they've been there. Because they have been on that aisle. They knew where the item was. That's who I want on my road trip. I want to invite people on my road trip that have been there and have done that and know exactly where we need to go. Look at what it says in Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise. Walk with the people that have been there and have done that. Hang out and listen to the ones that have been there and done that. The ones that have made the decisions, right or wrong, and they've learned from them. That's who I want to be with. I want to be walking with the people that have been on that aisle and said, here is what you're looking for. I want people that are saying, hey, this is what you're looking for. Follow me. Follow me. Let's do this together. It's not that they're perfect. They're not a perfect husband. They're not a perfect wife. They're not a perfect son or a perfect daughter. They're not a perfect parent. They're not a perfect boss or employee. They have just been there. And they've made choices, and some were right and some were wrong, but they've learned from it. And they've been there, and they want to say, hey, just follow me. I'll take you there. That's who I need to take on the road trip with me. That's who I want on my trip with me. The second thing is this. We need to invite people that are walking in the right direction. Okay? Not wandering around and just kind of aimlessly saying, oh, if it happens, it happens. I'll get there eventually. Look at this verse. The godly give good advice to their friends. The wicked lead them astray. I want to hang out with people that know where their here is, that are walking in the right direction. Several years ago, and I say several years ago, it was before I had kids. I was a student pastor in Louisiana, and I got to this church at the end of the school year, and the very first trip we had planned was we were taking middle school kids to a water park in Arkansas. Okay, and I was in Louisiana, and so we got in this bus, okay, this 21-passenger bus, which is scary that they trusted me to drive these kids anywhere. And okay, and I get in this bus, and there's 167 goes right through the middle of Ruston, and I pull out on the road, and now let me just preface it, that's a college town, and so I had a couple interns, and one of them, his name was Billy James, okay? Billy James was amazing. He was everything. He was organized. He was everything I wasn't, so it was awesome. We worked great together, okay? But we didn't know each other yet, okay? I'd only been there a couple of weeks. So we get in this bus, and I get on 167, I start driving. I'm about 15, 20 minutes down the road. And Billy James looks at me and goes, are you serious? And I'm like, what do you mean am I serious? He goes, where are you going? I was like, we're going to Arkansas to a water park with all these rugrats back here, okay? And he said, you're going south. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, okay, when it comes to directions. I needed to go north. 15, 20 minutes into the trip, he finally said, hey, Rocky, do you know what you're doing? I said, no. Student ministry thing's new to me. I don't know how to do this. I was going in the wrong direction. Billy James had never been to the water park, but you know what Billy James knew? That Arkansas was north. And evidently Rocky didn't know that. And so I had to turn around, and we U-turned, and we started going in the right direction. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for people to be in my life that they may not have already been there, but they're at least moving in the right direction. They're seeking God. They want to be an amazing father. They want to be an amazing mother. They want to be a great spouse. They want to be a great boss. They want to be a great employee. They want to follow Jesus. I want to hang out with those people that are at least going in the right direction. They're making lifestyle choices. They're inviting people into their life. They're reading books. They're listening to podcasts. They're in scripture. They're in a life group. They want to be around people that are making the right decisions. Look at Proverbs 12:26 again. The godly give good advice to their friends. The wicked lead them astray. Okay? Now, wicked is a big word. Wicked is a scary word because we don't think of wicked. I mean, it's kind of like the Satan worshipers or something like that. It's just people that make poor decisions. And it's people that don't care. It's the people that care only about them. They don't care about where your here is. They're not going to be the ones sitting there giving you the right advice in your here when you're trying to get to the right destination. They're going to lead you astray. They may not take you south when you're supposed to be going north, but they may take you in this direction away from your here. So what type of people are you inviting on your trip? The last one is this. Invite people. Sorry. Next one, please. Sorry. I messed them up back there in the back. Guys, y'all got to understand that is a calling back there when I'm preaching. It is calling. The third thing is we need to invite people that say what you need to hear. Can I say that again? I want you to make sure you heard that right. Invite people on your trip, on your road trip with you, that say what you need to hear. Not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. That's the type of people that you want on the trip with you. The type of people that are gonna make sure that you understand where you're going, and they're gonna help you make the right decisions. Look at Proverbs 11:9. With their words, the godless destroy their friends, but knowledge will rescue the righteous. Stay with that just for a second. Their words, the godless destroy their friends. The godless will lead you astray. They'll take you away from where your here is. They will take you away from where you need to be and where God wants you to be. They will take you away. It doesn't matter if they've been your friends for 20 years. The godless will lead you astray. Now, here's one of the things for me that I need to hear more than anything. I need to hear people tell me what I don't want to hear. There's times when I'm walking down the road and they say things that I don't want to hear. I need those types of people in my life. And what we're prone to do is we're prone to push them out because we want to hear what we want to hear, don't we? We want to surround ourselves with the buddies that we grew up with instead of listening to the advisors that have been there and have done that. We want to hear what we want to hear instead of hearing from those that are going to help us get to where we need to be. Look at what it says in Ephesians 4:29. Sorry, I'm messing them up back there in the back bad, guys. There we go. Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. I want to be with people that are going to encourage me, that are going to tell me what I need to hear. People that are going to help me understand how I need to get to this location. not people that are going to tell me what I want to hear. And some of the most encouraging words that I can experience are words that I immediately become defensive with. It would have been very easy for me with Billy James to say, hey, I'm the student pastor. I'm the one driving this bus. I know where I'm going. And we would have found the coast before we found the water park. We need to be around people. We need to invite people on our road trip that are going to tell us the truth. A truth that we may not want to hear initially, but 2 hours later, 2 days later, 2 weeks later, we come back to that person and we say, thank you. I needed that. We need those people on our road trip. We need the people that are going to tell us what we don't want to hear. And in our world today, that we tend to do is we try to surround ourselves with people that think like us, act like us, do things that we feel like we need to be doing. And we miss out on the direction that we need to be living. So where is your here? Okay? Where are you trying to get to? And is it worth it? Is it worth it? I know at 52 years old, I look at my here a little different than I did when I was 21 years old. When I was 21, I had ideas of excelling and building a career and doing all this, that, and the other. Now at 52, I'm kind of looking back and thinking, hey, who can I influence? Who can I invest in? How can I be a better husband? Is your here worth it? Because if it is, you're going to get to your here and you're going to realize, you're going to say, what else is there? What else is there? Maybe for your road trip, there's some people that are not on your road trip right now that you need to ask to join your road trip. There may be some people on your road trip that you need to begin to weed out. Not being rude, not being mean, but they may not need to be on your road trip with you because they may be trying to lead you astray. 3 things I want to bring out really quick before we wrap up. First thing is this. You may not have an option of who's on your road trip sometimes. You may not have an option. But you do have an option to allow them to speak and influence your trip. They may be your boss. They may be an employee. They may be somebody you work with. They may be somebody that you're married into, a family member or something like that. And you don't necessarily can kick them out of the car as you're driving down the road, but you can do this. You cannot listen. Don't be rude, but let it go in one ear and out the other. Okay? The second thing is this. In the process of looking for the people that you need to bring on your road trip, you need to be the person that you want on the road trip. Are you the type of person that people are going to come up and say, hey, you know what? I want you on my road trip with me. I need you helping me in life. At 52, man, me and my wife right now, we are at a place in ministry where I absolutely love it. I love it. I love investing in young couples. I love pouring my life into young couples and people that are making decisions and helping them. I love being part of my men's groups that I'm investing in those because I want to be that person that they invite on their road trip that has a say. The person that they can walk into and say, hey, what do you think about this decision? And the people that I can go up to them and say, hey, you know what? I don't know about this. You may want to pray about that a little bit more. You may want to think about that a little bit more. Be that person as well. And the last one is this, guys, for parents, okay? And I apologize for this one, but this is me being real, all right? Parent, you need to do 2 things. One thing is this. You have the most influence in your kid's life right now. All right? I don't care what culture says. I don't care what society says. You are still a main influence in your child's life. And what you need to do is you need to pray and ask God where their here is. I think too many of us listen to what the world says our kids need to achieve. We need to stop and say, okay, God, where is it that you want my 12-year-old to be? God, where do you want my 6-year-old to be? And how can I get them there? We need to ask God and quit asking the world. God doesn't want you to raise the next Patrick Mahomes. He wants you to raise a Christ follower. God, where's the here for my kids? And then the last thing with the parents is this. You need to get them plugged in to environments where they can hear from people on their road trip. They need to be plugged into the age-graded ministries. If y'all come to Grace, you need to get your kids plugged into the student ministry or the children's ministry. You need to get them plugged into that to allow them to be influenced, to be encouraged on their road trip. And I know I've been doing it long enough. I know parents say, well, they just don't like to come. And I'm fine, okay. But the next time they tell you they don't want to take a shower, just kidding, we're going to make them take a shower. You have an option as a parent, okay? Encourage them in that direction. Encourage them in that direction. Here's the deal. Who you choose to take on your trip will choose where your trip takes you. The people you surround yourself with, the people you allow to speak into your life will determine where you end up. You have a choice. We all have a choice. Who are you taking on the road trip with you? Let's pray. God, thank you so much for your word. Thank you for your truth. Father, thank you so much for your patience with us. And Father, I know that there's folks in this room, I'm one of them, Lord, that we've made bad choices in our previous road trips. We've made wrong decisions. And God, there's nothing we can do about the past choices that we made. But Father, from this point on, we can make a difference. We can choose to surround ourselves with people that are going to help us get where you want us to be. Father, give us the strength to not ignore it, but to move forward with where you want us to go. It's in your son's precious name I pray. Amen.